This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
You can get the Truefire All Access pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for.
The other night, my wife was teaching our neighbour singing lesson, and normally I would do a live stream then, but I had an acoustic set to learn for Saturday. I've got a wedding gig all day, and nothing could have prepared me for the relentless positivity that I heard when I jumped into Andy Wood's stream just to check out what was on his live stream.
There's John Cordy. New School Fusion Cats? Dude, John Cordy, man. I am so amazed with how much content and how many videos John can make, and all those backing tracks. I told him, I was like, brother, send me some backing tracks. I'd love to play over them. I said, I'll pay it for them. You know, I don't know how John finds the time in the day. Dude is a dad. He's always getting better.
You'll all be aware of Andy Wood, amazing player. Now I'm aware of Andy Wood because I used to be on the petrucciforums as a teenager, and that was really quite an important part of my growing up as a guitarist. I'm a self-taught guitarist. I did have piano lessons from the age of 5, which is a huge head start. And then at 14, I basically stopped piano lessons to concentrate on guitar only. And that would have been around the time. And this is probably the space that has been most useful in terms of development as a guitarist in my whole life, I think. There were players on there, Tom Quayle, Andy Wood, Rick Graham, Travis Montgomery, Chris Fina. I'm going to miss some. Martin Wishy, or Martin Miller as he calls himself now. Misha Mansour, I Am Bulb on there. It was a really, really important part of, just getting, in the mix with some players. And as well, it kind of coincided with the start of people uploading their playing and being able to build a bit of an audience without going down a traditional route, which I think has been important for quite a lot of guitarists, especially by now it's 2025. But anyway, Andy said some really positive things about my playing, and I wanted to kind of do a video talking about some of this stuff. And it's less about my playing and more about things that I do, my workflow and things like that. And hopefully, and maybe some of the inner game of tennis of this stuff. Because, I honestly worry that actually my playing is declining over time. Because, as a dad, as much as I am very lucky to get to play guitar every day, the actual time on the instrument is in steep decline, or was. I'm gradually, as Elodie grows up, there's more of that in. But I kind of wanted to do a video talking about some of this stuff. one of the things that Andy kind of said was about the sheer amount of stuff. And I think this is one of those things where I apologise to anyone who's ever said about this to me, but I think some of this stuff is quite a selfish thing in general, and I think probably a bunch of you in the comments are familiar with that, and think probably the same. Like, why does this guy upload every day? Why is there playing in every video? And honestly, I think the real point is that I would like to get across. For me, if I'm going to do a guitar-based YouTube channel, then guitar really should have a very key focus in every video. You know, like, I personally, if I'm going to upload a video, there's going to be some guitar playing in it, because otherwise I could be making a video about anything else. It could be about fishing, it could be about, I don't know, the UFC, it could be about some other thing, because it was never really about my face being on camera. There were years where I would upload videos like to YouTube with no face in. It's really never been about that. The only thing that happened is that when I started uploading videos with my face in about other stuff, then people started to notice more, which is kind of fair enough, right?
The thing about John, and I'm bragging on you right now, the thing about John that's nasty, he's always better than the last time you saw him. And that's crazy terrifying. Other people, you know, you kind of get to know what you're going to see. As soon as you think you got him pegged, he's going to give you something new. I love that he's got that progression. Dude plays a different rig in every video. I mean, just a different guitar to a different pedal to a different amp to a different God knows what, and it always sounds so good. That just leads me to the path that just John sounds good.
What anyone else could get out of this, if there is a lesson here, I think it is that no one is less impressed with your playing than you, probably, except maybe your wife. But we have to sit with our own playing more than anyone else does. And even if you're an online guy, like, there's for me a real feeling of like, this sounds a lot like everything that came before. But, you know, maybe Andy is being overly flattering here, but if someone that you really respect can see that there are some improvements over time, then I guess it's more about trusting the process. And this is kind of one of the big things with guitar. I think we see so much about being stuck in a rut, or noodling, or playing the same thing over and over again, or I feel like I want to add more vocabulary. Nathan said to me the other day, I think it is a case of kind of trusting that thing over time. When you're thinking like, I want to get something new into my playing, I've heard Alan Holdsworth talk about this. It's really kind of a case of it taking quite a bit of time, and it might be something you worked on like a year ago that eventually finds its way into your improvisation, Alan Holdsworth said. For me, it's more, you kind of like have to force it, and you have to make it happen, or try to make it happen every day. For me, the things that I've really focused on and have made it an important part of every single day is just to sit in front of this camera and improvise. And it might be over various kind of popular songs, things that I like the sound of, progressions that are inspired by something, or it might be breaking down someone else's lick. And this is something I see in Andy Wood's playing as well, and quite a lot of other players like Andy Timmons and some of these folks that they've mentioned. There remains this curiosity and this, so when you see someone playing something that it's like, whoa, what was that? Like, for me and Andy Wood, when we see Matteo Mancuso, you pick up the guitar and you get curious and you think, can I do anything like that? Can I do something with this? And in Andy Wood's playing as well, I noticed that with the Matteo Mancuso thing, he was finding ways to make what Matteo does fit into his own kind of style of playing, whether that's hybrid picking, whether that's more alternate-based picking or legato. And I think that is one of the things that I think is worth keeping in mind, that at the very top of the game, like Andy Wood and players like that, they're still curious and still, in a lot of cases, will try to, you know, pick up the guitar and figure stuff out. Now, that's a really cool thing to learn. And like Andy Timmons, I've kind of read an interview with Larry DiMarzio where he was talking about, he found out that he was going to be doing sort of like a bit of a tour with Pat Metheny, so he made it a thing to sit down every single day after he woke up with a cup of coffee and play jazz standards. And that resonated with me because it's something that essentially is like a daily routine thing where So every day of mine basically looks like wake up, make sure that Elodie and Liana are still in bed, start doing something and start practicing something. There are other videos on the workflow for how I actually get these intros and backing tracks together if you're interested in that. As you might be able to hear, there's a click track happening right now. This is how every video starts. The camera's recording, I get a guitar, plug it in, and I start to play. And essentially you might notice that some of our videos basically start off with like a 2-bar phrase or 4 bars or something. First part might be something simple up here. 2, 3, 4, 1. I try and repeat that sort of thing. So I've now got these 2 different parts happening together, and they were kind of up here. You have, so this is like a 2-bar section. So essentially I will just kind of copy it, and yeah, you kind of cut the section that you want, or that it is, and then press Control. Or do I want it to be, you know, like a use for this as well? But they start with me just with a click in the computer and improvising essentially like a chord progression, looping, which happens in the DAW, and then I play over that, and then I go and add drums and production and stuff like that. It's been a really inspiring thing for me personally. I don't know whether anyone else gets much out of it. Sorry if it's tedious for you, but the way that I thought about it was kind of like there are heroes of mine that are maybe like Steve Lukather, Landau, that, or Tom Bukovac, for example, you know, that would be in a studio day in, day out and putting together parts and stuff like that. Now, I have no professional opportunity to do anything like that.
John, if you ever were in the greater Nashville area, you would definitely rack up on some sessions because you just sound good with whatever you play through.
But I kind of, same with the jazz stuff as well, like try and create at least like the environment where you're kind of pretending that you're doing that. So, you know, whether you're playing over a Michael Jackson tune in the 80s with a load of cocaine in the room, or if you're playing in your bedroom and layering parts and stuff like that, I think there is this similarity. There's just not much applause for it, right? But I think that is kind of take that principle, because no one, in general, I think a lot of people aren't particularly pleased with their playing, but it's important to remember, I guess we're not really doing it for the positive reinforcement or the negative reinforcement. The reason that I do it personally is because I get so much out of just sitting down and playing guitar. It's kind of like a meditation-ish thing, or kind of like just an enjoyable thing. It's a thing that my day doesn't feel complete if I haven't done it. And so that's kind of, for me, what's important. If you are interested in getting my backing tracks and all of that stuff, they do go up on Patreon. There's like 680 of them. But I also put up every month, with the help of Daniel Martinez, a full transcription of a solo, if there are any of my bits and pieces that you'd like to learn. But equally, every week on like the Monday, I'll come and do some sort of lick-based lesson. And if you're looking for vocabulary and trying to insert these things, that I do show quite a bit of methodology there, I think, where you'll see me trying to just force a lick that was initially from somewhere else into my own playing. And I think over time, that could be how we help to do these things. Equally, one of the cool things about improvisation, I talked with Tom Quayle about this a bit, is that what I like about it is that it kind of meets you where you're at. Like, so some days where you're feeling like, however, like, are you going to be playing 30-second shred legato lines all the time over everything? Sometimes, actually, these things don't work quite the same. And what I like about improvisation is that each day it's going to maybe be slightly different, where it's like, well, today actually I'm feeling a bit more chilled. Like, what's going to necessarily happen on the camera if I'm feeling a bit sad or I'm feeling a bit something, it might be something quite different. It might be a little bit more Jeff Beck inspired. There might be more space. It might be like, oh, maybe I was thinking like this ballad thing. I think that is the beautiful thing for yourself about improvisation, is that you can follow what you're feeling, rather than like butting up against frustration of, oh, it doesn't sound like this today. And again, just a reminder really that it's not so much about comparing yourself to others wherever you're at. Like, we could all be down on our playing. Andy Timmons and Eric Johnson and folks like this, I'm sure, have their down stuff on this. Like Andy Timmons has talked about his kind of self-doubt feelings, and about feeling what was he playing in tune, and all these kind of things. You can find, I guess, in 2025, people being a bit more open about this stuff. And I think that's kind of what it's all about, really, is just trying each day to do the best that you can with it, and finding yourself where you're at with your instrument. But get as much enjoyment out of every time you pick up the guitar as possible, and then it can kind of snowball into this thing that you do every day, rather than feeling like I need to do this, and this massive practice schedule, or I'm never going to be as good as whoever. It's not really about that, in my opinion. It's about just trying to do the thing. And I'm in a very sort of privileged position here now where I get to do it every day, and I can't believe that Andy was saying those things about me. It's just really flattering, but also it's not really even about that at all, is it? Like, I'd be doing it even if people thought it was awful, and I'm sure some of you do, and I'm sorry. But yeah, anyway, that's some ramblings for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you liked any of these tones, Gumroad is the place to get access to my Helix folder. And the kind of point with that and the backing tracks really is to try and but make it available that people can, if they're wanting to find that stuff, quickly get a tone that sounds like something you might have wanted to play over a backing track that actually, that sounds roughly like something that I'd like to play over. So if you're into any of that stuff, then Patreon is the place to do that. There is a tier for £2. Just a bit of a plug. But anyway, I'll catch you in another video soon. I'll be here when you need a video.